Hi, and welcome to January's Aging Well, and Happy New Year. Doesn't it feel great to say Happy 2021? I'm ready for this new year to get started off on a good foot, and I'm just so happy that you're here to launch this year with us. You know, we have got a lot of new attendees this time. And it struck me that so many of our friends and neighbors from Winston-Salem know exactly who the Sticht Center is, but we've got a lot of folks from joining us now from other neighborhoods around North Carolina, as well as Florida, Virginia, Tennessee, let's see, Mississippi, Utah, and Colorado. So welcome. We're glad you're here. We are so glad you're here. But you may not know who the Sticht Center is. So we are the Wake Forest Baptist Health Sticht Center for Healthy Aging and Alzheimer's Prevention. And yes, that's a long name, but I never get tired of saying it because it feels so good to be able to say the mission of what we do every day. And as part of that mission, that's how AgingWell came about. And because we want to provide everybody, young, old, in between, the tools and resources to all age our best, have fun with aging. And kind of along the spirit of tonight's Aging Well series, you know, we have Dr. Ard, who's going to be talking about how to help us keep our New Year's resolutions. And so do this for me. In the chat along the bottom, you will see, you can enter in chat. If you have a fun New Year's resolution that you're going to aspire to for the year, just jot it down so everyone can see it, because it could serve as an inspiration for somebody else. I know for me, you know what my New Year's resolution is for 2021 is to play more. I want to have more fun. 2020 was a very serious year. The earth was on fire with COVID. We had a very contentious election, and I'm ready to play more. So that's my New Year's resolution. So join me in sharing some of yours. We are recording tonight's session, and that way you will have access to these segments, to this webinar after the fact, because especially for the exercise and the recipes, we have been getting so many requests from people that says, oh, we want to be able to access that. And so through technology, now we are able to record these. Now, I'm not exactly sure how you're going to access them yet, how they're going to be shared, but I will follow up with an email, let you know how to access them. If I can't send it to you as an email, then I will share with you where to go to pick them up. So we're going to get this party started tonight. I want to first of all thank the team that we all work so hard to put this together. I'm Deb Burkham, and I'm your Program Director of Outreach for the Sticht Center. We also have Tom Roth with our CTSI, and he is the technology genius guru that makes everything happen so beautifully. We've got Courtney Hayes with Best Health. She is behind the scenes making sure everything is flawless. And last but not least, I've got Audrey Belfaro, who, let's just say, runs the joint. She is with our Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, and she keeps us all on the straight and narrow. And at the Sticht Center, who we are two major centers. We have one for healthy aging, so think body health, shoulders down. We have our Alzheimer's Disease Prevention Center, so brain health, so think shoulders up. We are one of two centers in the country, two institutions in the country that have both of these centers under one roof. And so when I say we care about older adults and how we can help them age well, we mean it. We're walking the walk, not just talking about it. So again, we're going to get this party started. And how many of you like Cuban food? Because in Winston-Salem, we have got a wonderful restaurant called Mojito's Latin Soul Food. And we have got Chef Michael Millan, who is going to be leading us in a cooking demonstration. And again, remember, you always get the recipes as a follow-up.
Thanks, Deb, for making Mojito Latin Soul Food a part of Aging Well. My name is Michael Millan with Mojito Latin Soul Food. This is my kitchen manager, Joel, and we're about to prepare chicken empanadas. So we're making chicken empanadas today. We're using ground chicken that you can find in any local grocery store. And Joel's about to get started on that. We'll start with a searing hot pan. Drop your ground chicken into the pan. And we're gonna brown that for about 3 to 4 minutes. The other thing that you can start with on this recipe, purchasing at the store, are these Goya Discs. They're made special for empanadas, and this particular disc can be fried or baked. For the chicken dish, since we're trying to keep it a little healthy, we'll stick to baked for this recipe. But if you want to fry it, you can fry it at 350 degrees in a small fryer or a cast iron pan. So Joel's got the meat browning over here. The next thing we're gonna do is add our onions, peppers. Let that saute for a minute, and that's the start of our sofrito. Sofrito at Mojito Latin Soul Food, sofrito is the base for any dish that we start. It's the holy trinity of Cuban food. So you have peppers, onions, garlic, tomato paste, and some people will add diced tomatoes to that as well. So once that cooks down a little bit, you get brown meat, nice color on your vegetables. You'll go ahead and add your garlic. Let that cook for about 2 minutes. As you can see, Joel is constantly mixing the pan around. That's a good idea, so as not to have any scorching in the pan. And also, it's a good preparation for when you put the tomato paste, because the tomato paste will want to scorch instantly. You want to keep this at medium to medium-high heat, depending on your comfortability with how quickly you can cook. The next thing you want to do is add your seasonings. We have salt, pepper, cumin, and garlic powder going into this recipe. Mix that around a bit, let it cook a little bit as well, and then you'll add your tomato paste to finish. At the very end, once the tomato paste is cooked, we'll add some sliced or chopped olives, however you like. I like to have our olives a little smaller. Most people are finicky about olives, and so if you don't want olives, don't have to have them. But a quick piece of advice about olives is go ahead and wash the brine off of them before you go to use them. That'll cut down the sodium levels a little bit, make it less salty, a little more palatable. We use Spanish olives in our dishes without the roasted pepper or pimento inside of it. Now he's adding the olives to finish up the dish. At this point, you want to cut your heat off, finish stirring, and then add your meat to a shallow pan. Put it in your walk-in or your cooler. We have a walk-in, you have a cooler. Let it cool down for about an hour to an hour and a half before you go making your empanadas. So now we have our cooked chicken meat. We're gonna add it to our empanada shells right in the middle, about 2 tablespoons in each one. And we're gonna egg wash the rim halfway around each empanada, just like this. Fold your empanada over, making it into a ham pie. At Mojito, if you see these on the menus, you'll actually see them as ham pies first, and then you'll see the description of empanada. These recipes will be made available to you on the website. And if you have any questions about where to find these products, you can come see me at Mojito Latin Soul Food, and I will gladly tell you where to purchase all these wonderful products. Now we're going to crimp the edges so that they seal and all that deliciousness doesn't fall out. At any time in these recipes, you can change out the same amount of meat for, say, ground beef, or if you don't eat beef, you can use Impossible meat or Beyond meat, are also good substitutions for any kind of meat. You can also use plantains mushrooms, spinach, whatever you want to put inside of here. Just make sure that you crimp them and seal them well. A little egg wash over the top to give you a golden brown color coming out of the oven. That's going to help with the protein on top, so that you're not just left with a dry, hard shell. And those will go in the oven at 325 for about 12 minutes. Now, through the magic of television, this is what your empanada will look like once it comes out of the oven. You see it start to bubbling, beautiful, golden brown, and delicious. Enjoy. So here we are with a personal request from Deb. This is our flan at Mojito Latin Soul Food. My sous chef, Angel, who's been with Mojito Latin Soul Food since the beginning, when we were just a little trailer. And now she's the big dog in the kitchen. And she's about to prepare you our version of flan, which is the most basic version, but the most delicious to me. This is what I grew up eating when I was a little chubby kid in Miami. So we have your ingredients here: sweetened condensed milk, evaporated milk, eggs, granulated white sugar, and vanilla extract. Now, the thing about vanilla extract, the more expensive the vanilla extract and the fancier, the better it's gonna be. That's a complete thing for vanilla extract. The more money you spend on it, the better it's gonna be, I promise you that. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take you step by step. The process starts out with making your mix of milk, your milks and your eggs. And we have the finished product here so you can see what it looks like. It's a little vanilla colored itself. And then we have our granulated sugar that we're going to turn into caramel. This is the part you have to be the most cautious with. Go ahead and start that, Angel. You want to put your sugar in your non-reactive or non-stick pan. We prefer using non-stick because it's faster. There's less mistakes that get made with non-stick. Make sure your sugar is even and that your fire is at medium heat. You don't want to go too fast because you'll darken the sugar. As it starts to cook, it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and the process will burn fairly quickly. And what you're looking for is this beautiful amber color right here, nice and shiny amber. And you want that to be the base of your pan. We're using, for today's purposes, we actually make them individually at the restaurant, but for today's purposes, we're using a 10-inch round pan. You can find these at the supermarket. They're made of aluminum foil and they're really great for single use. But a perfect flan will be made in Pyrex or non-reactive pans that you can find in the store. The key to this is the caramel though. You don't want to overdo the caramel because as it cooks in a water bath, the caramel is going to run off to the sides and you want that beautiful amber color. You don't want it to be burnt. It's going to ruin the flavor and it's going to give you a terrible color at the end. What Angel's doing is she's moving the sugar around as it begins to melt. And the more you sort of move it and keep it level with itself, the more even the cooking's going to be. But also using a rubber spatula so that at the end, when you start picking up off the nonstick part of the pan, you don't have granules of sugar that are staying there. You get a perfect temperature. Nonstick is great for making caramels. I know a lot of people are going to fight me on that, but that's okay because, you know, I'm here to make you happy. So now what you're starting to see in the pan is that the sugar is becoming loose and translucent, sort of clear, and it's going to start melting. Now's the time you want to start paying attention. Don't ever walk away from sugar as you're cooking it because it'll be a disaster in your kitchen. Just to give you a look at what's going on in the pan, you'll start to see the sugar moving and smoking and turning into a liquid form. That's what you're looking for. As that liquid goes down more and more and more, you'll start to see the color changing. You want to scoop from the outside, working your way in. And then when you get inside the middle of the pan, flip it over, but don't pull the sugar out. After about 3 to 4 minutes of moving it around, you're good. You're going to end up with this amber color. You want to pour this into the pan and just leave it in there. Now, in these foil pans, as it cools, the sugar will pop right out. It'll just move right out of the bottom of the pan, but you don't want to do that. Just leave it alone, let it sit there, cool it down. Don't put it in your cooler, just let it cool on the table. Once it's cool, go ahead, Angel. You want to pour your mix to the top of your container. Give yourself about, stop right there. Give yourself about 1/8 of an inch to work with on the edge of the pan. Now, all the bubbles that are in there, you're gonna wanna let them sit there and maybe use a spoon, pop them off the top. Give your pan a little tap on the counter. Put it into your water bath pan, which will be a bigger hotel pan if you have one. If not, just a Pyrex that would be twice the size of your pan. You wanna have at least twice the amount of space. Grab a ladle. So we've got a few bubbles here. We'll just pop those off the top, no big deal. You want to be careful when you're pouring the liquid. We usually, at the restaurant, at Mojito Latin Soul Food, we make the liquid the day before so that we can let it rest in the walk-in and have no bubbles in the actual product. When you pour it in, you want to pour it in as close to the container as you can so as not to have any bubbles. The reason I keep stressing the bubbles is that the bubbles will ruin your flan and it'll curdle the eggs. It'll give you scrambled eggs. It'll make a mess in the flan, and then sometimes what will happen is you'll have a skin on the top that just doesn't really look that nice. So next thing you want to do, tap water, room temperature. Just go ahead and pour that in. And you want to pour your water in your water bath halfway to 3/4 of the way up to the pan. This pan's now going to go in the oven. The recipes will be emailed to you, so you'll have working knowledge of what the ingredients are and how to use them, as well as how to make your water bath. The water bath is very important because this is where if you cook the flan in a dry pan, you'll scorch the sides and you'll have a big giant mess on your hands, and nobody wants that. Once you're done cooking your flan, this is your finished product. You're gonna wanna take your Pyrex, using a butter knife, clean around the edges, use a plate to put on top, and invert it. The flan will come right out, and it cooks upside down, so you see the nice caramel in that liquid that comes off of the caramel on top. But that beautiful color that you get on top, that's from the caramel. But it's not gonna sit like a piece of candy. It's actually gonna dissolve, and you're gonna have a nice liquid that goes along with your flan. Thank you very much, Angel. That's a beautiful looking flan. And you can produce that at home using your recipes, or you can come see us at Mojito Latin Soul Food and get a flan made just for you by Angel, who's so happy to make your flan. My name is Michael Millan of Mojito Latin Soul Food. This is my business partner and my wife, Michelle Millan. And we want to say thank you again to Deb and AgingWell for making us a part of this program. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. We want you to know that we take COVID very seriously at Mojito Latin Soul Food. We're always masked up. We've taken the 50% restaurant capacity very seriously. We have definitely spread our tables, and we're here to make people safe. We offer takeout, and we're also willing to come out to you to bring it to your vehicle. If you order with us at Mojito Latin Soul Food, we have a completely separate section for our takeout and dine-in services. And again, we want people to know that we are here to make you feel safe and comfortable during these complicated times. We offer our entire menu, and soon this week we'll offer our bar menu as takeout as well.
Well, I hope y'all were paying attention, because I will admit to you, I did have a piece of that flan, and it is fabulous. So if you're not quite brave enough to make it yourself, then make plans to go down to Mojito Latin Soul Food. It was wonderful. And now feeling maybe a little guilty about having enjoyed that flan, let's talk about physical activity. So if y'all remember last month, we had Tim and Daryl lead us in exercises using things around our house, just household items, cans of paint, jugs of milk, even packages of toilet paper. But this time we've got Jen Lemons, who is a trainer with the YMCA here in Winston-Salem, and she is a nationally certified trainer. She is going to be leading us in band exercises. And these are just very very effective ways that you can essentially have all of the exercises you could find at a full gym, right in the privacy and safety of your own home. And you also will have Tim Gribble demonstrating as well. Now, Jen, the reason I'm saying this is because Jen had to be fairly close to the camera to demonstrate some of the hand movements with the bands. So you would not be able to see what she's doing with her feet. So pay attention to Tim, who's standing behind her, so that you can get the whole effect of these band exercises. And remember, we will be sending you the detailed instructions of how to do all the exercises. So Jen, take it away.
Okay. Hey everyone, thank you Deb for allowing the Y to be a part of AgingWell. My name is Jennifer, as Deb said earlier, and I've got my partner here, Tim. As you notice, I don't have a mask on. We are trying to keep socially distant here as well, so Tim has his mask on. If you go to any location, a gym or a facility or out in public, we do ask that you wear a mask when you're exercising. One thing that I do want to say, Tim had given you some information earlier through a video about body weight exercises. I hope you've been able to do some of those. Some examples that he gave you were squats and some things that you could do around the house. He also gave you some information about, I think Deb did as well, about using some bands and where to get those. And I've got about 4 here that I want to show you. These are different resistances. I've got a lighter, a light to medium, a heavier, and a heavier. And as you can see here, the different resistances, the thinner is usually a little bit easier. The thicker the band, it's usually a little bit harder. So what I would suggest if you're just starting out with the bands is to maybe go a little lighter to start with, and then as you progress, you can go a little bit heavier. But we always want to make sure form is good before we add resistance or we add load to our workouts. So these are the different bands. Now as far as the colors, I've got different colors here. I wouldn't rely so much on the color as far as what resistance it is. Different manufacturers have different different colors for their resistances. I would go again mainly on the width or the circumference of the band. The thinner, easier, thicker, harder. Okay. I had shoulder surgery back, I guess back about 2 or 3 months ago, so I'm not going to be able to do every exercise with you. That's why I've asked him to join us. He's our toilet paper guy. I think he gave a good joke last time about using toilet paper and keeping it close in and not showing your neighbors about it. But anyway, we're going to start. So always make sure you're warmed up a little bit before you begin any type of workout. So if you're in your house or in a gym, you can just march in place a little bit. You can take some deep breaths in, focus a little more on range, give me some shoulder presses, shake it all about. Again, walk around the house, go up and down the steps a few times, just get the blood pumping. And then when you're ready, you can pick your band. I'm going to start with the lighter resistance because I'm just starting out. I'm kind of getting back into exercise. So we always, a lot of times, want to work our larger muscle groups first. So we're going to work our legs first. So you're going to take your band and you are going to step on your band. So both feet on your band. Okay, both feet on my band. So we're going to work into squats. Okay, so squats, shoulders back and down, chest is lifted. Your hands are a little bit lower. That's going to be easier. You have less resistance. When your hands come higher, that adds more resistance into your squats. So we're going to squat down and up. Okay. So we'll do a few of those. So anything when you're doing any type of resistance type exercises, you want to shoot for about 10 to 15. If that gets easy, then you want to add a little bit of resistance, maybe a little bit more, a little harder band. Okay, so if you get a profile view, your hips are back, your chest is lifted, your knees kind of follow the toes, just like you're sitting in a chair like Tim showed you a few weeks ago. Okay, so 10 to 15 squats, down and up, down and up. If you wanted to add a little bit more, if you have a very light band and your shoulders are feeling good, you can add a little shoulder press to it. I can't do this with my surgery arm, but I'm going to let you see Tim doing the squats and the shoulder presses. That's an advanced move, so if you can't get it, that's hard, isn't it, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so don't worry about that. If you just want to stand and alternate it without the squat, that's another option as well. And you see Tim is keeping good posture, his shoulders are back, his chest is lifted. Good, good form, good form. Okay, so again, that's a little more advanced move with the shoulder presses. So those are squats and shoulder presses. Keeping both feet on your band, something else you can do. Again, easier here with the hands down, a little harder with the arms are up. Just step touch side to side, side to side. Good. So you're just picking the feet up, and you can add some music to this if you want to. You can talk to your friends, you can just have fun with it. Right, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so again, you're working to fatigue. Again, if you're not feeling it, well, by gosh, you can put that one down. If you have another or a harder one, you can add a little more resistance. Again, you're feeling this in your glutes, your outer thighs. Again, just kind of stretched out, slight bend in the knees, don't lock out the kneecaps, core's braced, chest lifted. Sometimes we want to do this. Keep good posture at all times. Good, good. So about 4 more maybe. So it's 4, 3, 2, and then rest, okay? So we've done squats and we've done step touches with the band. So we're going to move on a little bit. You're going to keep on the band. So again, both feet on the band. I'm going to show you. We're going to go move to our back. So both feet on the band. So you're going to cross it, make an X. So cross it. Okay, so you have that X, shoulders up, back, and down. And then you're going to push the hips back, palms facing each other. And I'm going to show you a profile view. And you're going to come down and pull in. So it's a row. It's a row with the band. So it's down and up. Squeezing those shoulder blades together, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. And a lot of times people want to round the back, try to keep the shoulders back, so you keep that back flat. How's it going back there, Tim?
Too heavy.
Too heavy. So what does he need to do?
Go home.
Tim's not going to go home. Tim might lower his resistance a little bit with his band. So those are rows, very important for good posture. He's going to show you a few more with good form. Good, good. You see how his elbows are coming back, his hips are back, knees slightly bent, shoulders away from the ears. Sometimes we want to bring our shoulders up to our ears, but he keeps keeping them further away from his ears, squeeze in the back. Good. How many you done? About 4 more, Tim? Is that it?
About 48.
All right. He's worked to fatigue there. All right. So those are rows. Again, hitting the back. Something else that I want to show you. This one's pretty simple. You just take the band and you're going to hold it. So your palms are down. You're kind of holding it between your thumb and your pointing finger. The closer your hands are together, it's harder. The further they are apart, easier. Shoulders back and down. I'm just kind of wrap it around just a little bit. I'm going to let Tim take over here again because I've got a bad shoulder. But all we're going to do is separate it and bring it back in. We're going to squeeze those shoulder blades and bring it back in. So that band is coming into his chest. Good, Tim. Good, good. And again, you're working to that fatigue. If you're like, Jennifer, Tim, I could do 50 of these. Well, that's good. That's wonderful. But maybe we want to focus on the thicker band. If this seems like Jennifer and Tim, I can only do 5 because this is hard, and that's all you have, then just do 5. But if you have a lighter resistance, I encourage you to do that. Okay, so about 10 to 15 reps. That's kind of what we're looking for. Good job.
Thank you.
Good, very good, Tim. All right, so that's a couple exercises for the back. We're going to move on to another major muscle group, which is our biceps. We use biceps a lot. We're going to the grocery store, we're carrying things, we're picking things up. Biceps are a very, muscle group that's used quite a bit. So we're going to strengthen, those biceps. So, especially if you're what?
If you're on the beach.
If you're on the beach, you got to flex those biceps. All right, so you're going to step on your man. I'm going to give you two options. This is going to be your easier option. Underhand grip, okay? I've got 1 foot stepping on the band, okay? So your bicep curl, I'm going to have to go to my yellow. So I'm going to go to a lighter resistance because I noticed my form was going to be a little not very good. So we switched it over. So underhand grip, so we're going to go all the way to the shoulder, all the way to the thigh. So I've got 1 foot standing on the band all the way down, okay? So Tim, last time did you use cans to do bicep curls, or what can we use around the house if we don't have bands to do bicep curls?
Great call. Cans are great. You do water bottles. If you have, maybe we talked about puppies, if you have 2, they're equal weight. You can comfortably get
Puppies?
You can get those hands up underneath them so they're comfortable. Really whatever's pretty even distribution of weight.
Okay, very good. So again, anything we're doing today, if you're like, Jennifer, Tim, I just don't have bands yet, I haven't been to the store, or I haven't, been looking for them yet. Again, what you did last week works well, or when Tim did the last video, that would work as well, okay? So those are bicep curls. So I'm like, I could do 15 more of those, I could do 20 more. That's too easy. So I want to put both feet on the band, and that takes up a little bit of the band, and it makes it a little bit harder. Same thing, curls, both feet standing on the band. That's a little harder. Feel good?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll put that down. So that's our biceps. So anytime we work one muscle group, we want to work the opposing muscle group. So the opposite muscle of our bicep is our tricep. So for our tricep, we've got lots of different options here. I'm going to take this band, okay, put the handle on the floor, and I'm going to hold the handle. I'm going to put 1 foot on the band. The closer that foot is to the handle makes it easier. The further away from the handle makes it harder. So you can adjust and play around where your foot needs to be placed. Then I'm going to step the other leg forward, and then I'm going to take this up, and I'm going to use both arms for this. So I'm just kind of holding it here with my between my thumb and my pointing finger. Elbows must stay in, and you're going to come up and down to the neck. So ceiling to the thigh. I mean, not the thigh, but the back of the neck. Ceiling to the back of the neck. Now, a lot of times our elbows want to come out. Try to keep them as close in as possible, okay? If that's too easy, then you adjust your foot placement where the handle is on the floor, okay? So those are just simple tricep extensions. You want to show a few on the profile?
Absolutely.
Good, good. So he has a full range. He's driving it all the way up. And remember, when you're doing exercises, whether it's some of the exercises that Tim taught you to do last week or things that we're doing today, always remember to breathe. A lot of times people stop breathing and they hold, when they're lifting weights, they hold the breath. Remember to breathe. That's very important. Very, very important. We don't want to increase our blood pressure and those kind of things. And he's doing a one-arm tricep extension. He's showing off over here. So that's good. That's good. If you got it, you got to use it, right?
I had it.
So you can do the same thing, and it just makes it a little harder, okay? Another option, which I won't spend long here, but you take that same band, wrap your arms or both hands around it like we did with those pullbacks, and all you're going to do, keep the elbow up, and you're just doing a tricep extension. Did you show these last week?
I did not. This is good.
So you can do this with cans. Again, what'd you say, those puppies?
Puppies.
Let's
It'd be hard to get a puppy like this though. Football.
So let's say a football, let's say a can, a water bottle. If you have some weights at home, try to keep the shoulders away from the
I
ears.
forgot about weights.
Yeah.
You have weights.
Yeah.
Dumbbells. Perfect.
Yeah. And you will not need a lot of weight doing this. This is hard. So just keep the elbow, shoulder about parallel. A lot of people will do this. They swing. Don't swing it. Not going to swing. We're not going to swing dance.
Okay, I'm good.
Good. All right. So and then they get the other side. Same thing. Again, we're shooting for about 10 to 15 reps, something like that. Okay? All right, so those are our triceps, biceps, triceps. So we worked our back earlier, if you remember, with the rows, and then we did those pullbacks. So working the opposing muscle group of our back would be our,
Wait, what?
the opposing muscle group of our back.
I'm sorry, I thought I was just supposed to stand here. Our chest.
Yes, our chest. So our chest is the opposing muscle group. So you're going to take your same band and you're going to put it around, okay? And you can put it underneath your armpits if you'd like. And then all I want you to do is come forward and back. Forward and back. Now if you want to, you can cross it over and really squeeze that chest in. So this is bothering my shoulder just a little bit, so I'm going to turn it over to Tim and let him kind of show you a little bit and maybe a profile too. So as you notice, his arms are kind of staying parallel to the floor. Good, good, good form. His core is braced, and when I say your core, it's your torso area, belly button in, shoulders back. You've got a strong midsection here that's keeping you stable, keeping you supported. Good. Now, so Tim's doing it this way. We're going to bring this chair over real quick and show you how you can do the same exercise if you're on a chair. And actually, I think this is harder, even though you're seated. So he's going to wrap the band around the chair, the back of the chair. Again, the same thing how he was going under his armpits before. And then doing the same chest press using a chair. And I think that's harder. Is that not harder?
It's tough.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, he's using a thicker band too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's another option for our body. So anyway, a lot of the exercises that we did today, you can use the chair. So yes, we use the chair for chest presses, but if you're sitting in that chair, you can also do the bicep curls with the chest. You can also do the tricep extension with the chair. You can even step touch with your band on the chair. So there's lots of different things you can do. We have bands and tubing that have handles. A lot of times you may not find the one with handles. You may just find a flat piece of band. And that's okay too. You can still do the same exercises without the handle. So there's tons of different ways and tons of different bands that you can use for resistance training. Like I said earlier, is there anything you want to add before I kind of close it?
No. I mean, just total body, I think you mentioned the chair is a great thing, especially if you have mobility or balance. So just re-emphasizing that.
Yeah. And covering every major muscle group, which we did. We covered our legs, we covered our biceps, our triceps, our chest, our back, and even our shoulders through some of the exercises that we did today. And always remember to warm up, always remember to stretch at the end, whether you're using resistance bands, body weight exercises, or weights. Always remember to do those things. Strength training, we want to do every other day. You don't want to use the bands every day. Every other day is kind of what we recommend. 10 to 15 reps, something like that. Again, adjust. If that's too easy, you go up. If it's too hard, go down a little bit. See how you feel the next day. Was that too easy, too hard? Can I do more? Again, we're all starting at different levels, so let that kind of be your guide. You know, when it comes to sets or how many, I did 15 reps. Should that be it for the day? 2 to 3 sets is fine, or you can stick with one if you're just starting out. So 1, 2, or 3, let your body kind of be the guide. And that's it.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, you know, we'll try to give some information to you written as well. And again, we really appreciate Deb inviting us to be a part of this. Just keep it going, keep moving. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Jen and Tim. It was amazing to be there. And she is just so natural and makes it look so easy. And she just kept assuring me that it is easy. So remember, we're going to have this available so you can refer to it. And also she's made great notes of all these exercises. So now for our educational speaker. And I will tell you, I knew those 2 segments might run a little long. So Dr. Ard is fine with staying a little bit over the 6:30 cutoff. So we are not going to shorten his content because he's got a lot to say and I want to hear him. But without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Jamie Ard. He is a professor at Wake Forest Baptist Health, and he's also the co-director of our Weight Management Center. And just to remind you, he is going to be answering questions at the end of his presentation. So as he's talking, if it's spurring some questions, across the bottom where you see the Q&A, start entering your questions so that we can get those to Dr. Ard and he can get those answered for you. So without further ado, Dr. Ard, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Aging Well.
Thank you, Deb. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Um, yeah, I want to definitely encourage people to put in their questions as we go along. I get paid by the question, so the more the more you include, the more I get paid. Right, Deb? I'm assuming she's shaking her head off camera. Uh, so I think this is really neat, and I'm glad to be invited to talk to you this evening about how to keep your healthy New Year's resolution during a pandemic. We're 12 days into the new year, and some people think we've been fooled and it's still 2020. But hopefully, we've all turned the page a bit on 2020, and you are now well on your way to doing some of those things that you put in the chat box in terms of your New Year's resolutions. So my goal for the next 20 minutes or so is just to give you what I think are some basic tips in terms of what we do with a lot of our patients in thinking about setting goals and coming up with treatment plans and thinking about ways to help you stay on track with a good lifestyle change. There are no magic bullets. There are no shortcuts, so to speak. But I do think that there are some truisms and there are some things that we know from science that can help us really sort of take advantage of our human nature. And that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about changing how we do things on a regular basis and how we can get to a point of installing some new ways of doing things and new ways of thinking about things. So I'm going to take you through some basic ideas that I like to share with a lot of my patients. And I think the key here is that we're not doing this in normal times. We're talking about the pandemic versus your resolutions. The pandemic has changed everything. It's changed our way of life. It's changed our way of thinking about things, and we need to, sort of understand that sometimes we've got to be flexible as we start to try to introduce some new ways of living in our new lifestyle in these current times. And so I'm going to try to use that pandemic lens to sort of think through, like, okay, how would we actually go about doing some of these, sort of basic things. So I'm going to go over 4 basic tips. I'm going to tell you the basics of it. So if you don't hear anything else, if your internet drops off or you decide you want to go make that flan, you can at least know what I'm talking about right now. So number 1 is understanding the habit loop and what that means. Number 2 is building support. Number 3 is maintaining accountability. And number 4 is being informed and staying informed. So I'm just going to walk you through some of those basic things and talk about some ideas related to each one of these. So let's start with the habit loop. Now, the habit loop, I think, is a really powerful concept, and it comes from this book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I've got the URL, the website down here. I would encourage you to buy this book. I think it's a really important book that can help you understand how to get into habit formation, and it really challenges some of the basic myths that people have about, well, how long does it take to form a habit, or if I do this X number of times, it now becomes a habit. He starts out with a really basic concept called the habit loop, and I've got 3 words here: cue, routine, and reward. Okay, now I want you to think about a really common habit that I would imagine that 99% of us have. If you walk into a movie theater, your first thought is, I've got to get some popcorn, right? And I'm going to have popcorn and sit down and watch this movie. Why is that the first thought that you have when you walk into a movie theater? Well, it's part of a habit loop. There's a cue. You walk into the movie theater and you smell the smell of hot, buttery popcorn, right? Your mouth is already watering just thinking about it. Then you have a routine. I'm going to get into line and I'm going to purchase the popcorn. And then you have a reward, a payoff, which is, as I watch this movie and I'm entertained visually, I'm also going to be entertained and satisfied from a taste perspective. And I'm going to have something going in my mouth that stimulates my brain in a double way. It's sort of a double reward because I'm getting pleasure from watching the movie, hopefully, and I'm also getting pleasure from consuming the popcorn. So if that popcorn didn't taste good, or if that popcorn was stale, or if that popcorn half of the time just, didn't come out right, you would stop that habit because the reward wouldn't be there. And I guarantee you, for most of us, this habit loop plays out independent of how full you are. So I've seen people who have a full meal, have dessert, say, I couldn't eat another bite. Let's say, let's go to the movies after dinner, walk into the movie theater, and they get in line for popcorn. Not because they're hungry, but because it's part of this habit loop. And you're just moving in autopilot and you don't even realize it. Think about a route that you travel on a regular basis. Let's say it's going to a family member's house or going to work. You can get from point A, from your home, to that destination. And a lot of times you might not even remember the journey in between because you're so into whatever's on the radio, or you're thinking about solving the day's problems, or you've got a list of things that you're trying to put together in your head, or you might be having a conversation with someone in the car. And you get to your destination, you think, well, how did I even get here? Well, that's because your brain is on autopilot. You get in the car, that's the cue. You initiate a routine. You start to back out of the driveway. I've got a routine where I back out of the driveway. As I'm backing out, I'm putting my seatbelt on. I reach up and I close the garage door and I'm off out of the driveway. I don't even have to think about that. All of that happens automatically. Just imagine how much brain power I would have to devote if I had to think about that routine all the time. The reward for me being able to do that is that I get to think about something else, and I get to use that brain space for something else. So a habit loop has these three basic elements. And if you are going to start to establish new habits or change old habits, which is a lot of what people often want to do, you have to understand this habit loop, because every habit that you have has these three elements. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. Sometimes it's really hard to recognize the cue. And I give you, examples of, well, why did I eat that food when I know I'm not hungry? Well, maybe the cue wasn't, some sort of internal stimulus that said you're hungry. Maybe the cue is the commercial that you saw on television. And so you are being cued without your awareness, but that's the power of advertising and marketing, right? That's what those things are designed to do. Maybe the cue is a negative conversation that you had with a family member, right? So that emotion that you feel that makes you feel anxious or upset, that's the cue. And you need to do something with that feeling. And that routine can then be good or bad, depending on what you choose to do in terms of resolving that feeling. The reward is, I feel better, even if it's for a little bit, or I take my mind off of that feeling for a little bit. So you have to think about, what is the cue? And if that cue is there all the time, then one of the things that you can do to change a habit is to start to establish different cues, or recognize the cue and then put in a new routine. And you have to be conscious of that. And sometimes what you have to do is write down, here's the cue, and here's what I'm going to do as my new routine. And the last thing I will say before moving on is that you have to understand the power of that reward. If that reward is not as strong as the previous reward that you're trying to replace, you will go back to the previous reward. If it's not as effective, you will go back to the previous reward. That's why food is such a good reward, because it is so consistent. The bag of M&Ms that I eat in North Carolina is exactly the same as the bag of M&Ms that I can get in California. And I guarantee that when I get to the last one, it will have a peanut in the middle of it. And even if it doesn't have a peanut in the middle of it, it's still good, right? That's why that's why food is such a hard reward to overcome. And so you have to really think hard about, okay, what else can I do that gives me satisfaction, that helps me feel better, that helps change how I think about this loop and what I'm getting out of it. So that's the habit loop. Let me move on. Next thing is building support. Actually, I need to go back. I do need to go back because I was supposed to say, what about habits during pandemic? So, the pandemic has changed a lot of our routines. The things that we were doing, the cues that we did have, a lot of those things are going away, right? Because you're not meeting up with the same people at work or in your social settings or at church. You got different ways of doing things now. And so this actually creates a great opportunity to do something different and establish new habits. Did you know that the best time to actually establish a new habit is when you're on vacation? Because all of the cues that are surrounding you in your home are now different, and you can actually do a whole new set of routines, get different rewards, and use different cues to help you change that. You brush your teeth differently when you travel than when you do when you're at home. That's because those cues are different. And so I would encourage you to think about, okay, during the pandemic, how can I take advantage of the fact that I'm not going into the office, or that routine that I had that was, based on me being with so and so, and this restaurant being open, and or this coffee shop being available. Like, those things are now different. How can I take advantage of that to create some new routines, some new cues, new rewards, build new habit loops? Because the pandemic has changed my, sort of series of cues that I see throughout the day. All right. Now, building support. Building support, I think, is really important when it comes to thinking about new lifestyle changes, these resolutions, because you're not doing these things in isolation. You have to think about the fact that you are engaging in a series of connected uh, behaviors and lifestyle changes, and that the choices that you make are likely influencing or affecting other people in your life. And if you are doing things and trying to make changes that are positive, but no one else around you is doing that, that's going to feel even harder. It's going to feel even harder to do. And if you think about during the pandemic, because we haven't been able to get together and hold hands like this, we've been doing this 6 feet apart or virtually by Zoom all the time. It feels physically harder to actually connect to people and build that support. But what I would say is, in order for you to sustain a lot of the changes that you want to make, you have to have cheerleaders. You have to have people in your corner that are going to encourage you when things are challenging. And if you are making hard lifestyle changes, then there will be times that things are challenging. But you can start to build those communities or connect to communities that you've already had. Look for other spaces, whether it's networking online, whether it is building, connections through text messaging or calling, or being safe and socially distant out in space. But building that support and having partners that are going to, be in your corner, I think, is a really critical part that sometimes we don't take. We don't give enough credit to the impact that support has for helping us to be successful. I think following that is the accountability piece. The idea of having support is that you can then leverage that support to help you maintain accountability. And having accountability partners, I think, is a real important asset to have, because we are human beings are the best at rationalizing our behaviors, right? We got a reason for why everything has happened, why we've made the choice we've made. We can talk ourselves into or out of anything. And having an accountability partner, giving that person permission, okay, giving that person permission to actually hold you accountable is a really important step, because what that means is you are saying that I am going to not allow myself to rationalize my choices that are contrary to the goals that I'm setting, and I'm going to give my accountability partner permission to call me on it. Right now, I've got a lot of couples who will say, well, my spouse, my partner, my significant other is going to be my accountability partner, but they don't make that next step and actually give them permission to call them on that accountability and to hold them accountable. You have to empower your accountability partner to say, hey, you missed our date for walking. And so now there is going to be a pre-specified consequence that I have to hold you accountable for, right? You have to pay penance, if you will, for missing that date. How are you going to make up for that? Okay, what's the next thing that we need to do to make up for that missed date? Because we still want to get this in. And I think having accountability also means that you build in contingencies, because if you only plan for things to go well all the time, then you will always have reasons that you can't accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish. You have to understand, yeah, the rain, the weather's going to change, right? It's going to rain or it's going to be cold, and in those situations, here's what I will do instead, and then make that known to your accountability partner. I think the other important pieces of this are journaling. So keeping track of what you're doing, writing it down, for example. I think that's the most powerful behavior change tool we have, is self-monitoring. So if you are talking about, hey, I want to eat healthier to prevent diabetes, then the first thing you need to do is to actually start writing down and keeping a journal of what you're eating. That's going to reveal a lot to you, and you're going to start to answer a lot of questions about why you're doing what you're doing. And then it goes back to some of the other things that we just talked about in terms of the habit loops. You're going to start to see, well, actually I actually have some routines that are, seem to be built in, and I need to understand what are the cues that are leading me to make some of those choices that I'm making. So when you start holding yourself accountable, you start self monitoring, when you empower an accountability partner, you actually start to really, you leverage a lot of other sort of natural behavioral change power that you have, but you've just, kept it, bound up, and you haven't unleashed that power to actually help you move forward in a more productive way. Okay, last one here is about being informed. And as I started off by saying, there really aren't any shortcuts to, making these healthy lifestyle changes. A lot of time I spend talking to my patients about, sort of diffusing or changing minds about misinformation or things that people have, sort of spent time and money and effort on, that are really just gimmicks, that are really just meant to, try to get your attention to do something that, might cost you some money, or somebody else thinks is a, really interesting way to accomplish a particular goal, when, you know at the end of the day, really what we're talking about are, trying to engage in some basic behaviors. Not everything in life is a hack, right? Not everything in life is a shortcut that you can do to cut time and save, effort. Sometimes the benefit is about putting in that effort. Sometimes the benefit is about doing it the right way so that you can reap the results and limit your risk or harm. So stay informed. If you are considering, any number of different treatments or plans or options to help you achieve some of your health goals, run that by your physician, run that by a health professional, get some opinions, try to understand what's the science behind what I'm trying to do. Is there evidence that really sort of suggests that this is right for me? And I think it's really important to think about, is this right for me at my stage of life? Right? So, you know a part of aging well is understanding that as we go through life stages, we need different things. And being informed about those things that you need at your given life stage is, I think, really, really important. A lot of my patients, I had several conversations today with a couple of my patients about the things that I did before in the past don't work for me now that I'm in my 70s, or now that I'm in my late 60s, or now that I'm retired. I have to think about things in a different way, and you need to be informed. And so, hats off to Deb and the team here at AgingWell for being able to give you quality information, that's going to help you stay informed that way. Giant silverware makes the portions look smaller, so don't feel guilty so I don't feel guilty about eating so much, right? Again, just trying to avoid gimmicks, trying to avoid things that don't pass the smell test, as my dad would say. So I'm going to finish up here, with a shameless plug, and just let people know about, the Weight Management Center. If you feel like you need help with making these lifestyle changes, getting healthy during the pandemic, we've been doing this during this entire time, helping our patients, in a safe way. We're using video visits and telehealth. We're using remote monitoring to really sort of help our patients stay on track. Certainly feel free to take a look at our website. Give us a call if you're interested in signing up for, an information session to learn more about what we do. And we definitely have a presence on Facebook if you want to see what our patients are saying about our center and seeing some of the things that we're doing. So I'm going to stop there. I hope people have had a chance to send in some questions. I'm happy to stay and answer and have, time to answer any questions that people have. And again, thanks, Deb, for inviting me.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, one of the first questions is what happens if I get off track when I'm establishing a new habit?
Yeah, yeah. So this is where I think that people have to, one, give themselves grace and set the expectation that that's likely going to happen, right? You know, perfection is not the goal. Consistency is the goal. And what that means is that, yeah, you're going to have some times that you're going to run across a challenge, or something unexpected is going to happen. And you are going to have to take an L that day, right? It's just not going to happen. You set a goal to go walking 3 times that week, and you're busy volunteering or doing something else that's urgent and is a priority, and for that week, and you didn't make that 3 times, but you made it twice, right? And you held yourself accountable, and you talked to your accountability partner, and you said, I need to come up with a plan or a contingency for if that happens again. And so you have an opportunity to stay in the game and continue to make, a good decision the next time, right? So if your goal was to walk 3 times this week, but that didn't happen, you know what? The calendar says there's a week coming up next week, and
Mhm.
you can start then, right? And that, no one's going to hold that against you, that past week against you, just because that bad thing happened and you didn't meet your goal for that particular week.
So just because I might not hit it fully doesn't mean I've fallen off the wagon and I'm just going to keep on going. Or even if I do fall off the wagon, I can climb back on.
That's
Right.
right. That's right. I think as long as you stay in the game, you can win. If you quit, if you quit, then you have no chance.
Well, I'm just going to throw in something because, the accountability partner, are people successful if they have their spouse or partner or best friend as their accountability partner? Because in theory, I would love my husband to be my accountability partner, but I don't know that I want him to come down real heavy on me. I think I could take it real personal.
Yeah, yeah.
Counsel
So
for,
I
is it better maybe to not have a spouse or partner?
so I think that's a conversation that you need to have a very frank conversation about what type of support you want from your accountability partner. And you can have different types of accountability partners, right? So if you want your spouse to really help you with, hey, when we go grocery shopping, we're only going to buy what's on the list, right? And we're going to keep certain things out of the house, and that takes both of us to do that. Then okay, that's their lane. you've given them a very specific assignment, and you've carved out, okay, here's what I need from you. Um, but you might need something else from another accountability partner, say
Okay.
when it comes to exercise, maybe because you're just more compatible, right? If Don gets up in the morning and goes running for 3 miles every morning at 5 a.m. and he expects that you're going to do that because now he's your accountability partner, that just may not work for you,
Yeah.
right? And there's no amount of trying that's going to make that work. But you might have another partner who could totally do, the exercise program with you, or be a partner for you there, and it's just much more compatible. So I think you can have groups of accountability partners that you assign very specific tasks, or you think about, here's what I can really get from you, or here's how you can really help me.
And also, our accountability partners don't have to be local. We could, I mean,
Oh,
be
yeah,
phone,
absolutely.
phone friends. I have a girlfriend who lives in Mississippi, and it would be perfect for us to be, supporting each other, over the miles, over the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way we can stay in touch these days with lots of shared programs, both virtually. If you've got a Fitbit, you can find friends who have Fitbits. You can share your account. Say, like, if you have a food journaling account like MyFitnessPal, you can share that account with someone else so that they can see what food you are recording, and you all can, sort of challenge each other to, say, okay, how many days can we journal
Mhm.
in a row, for example. So you don't have to get into, well, what did you journal per se, but just, did you do it? Did you account for what you're doing on a regular basis? So there are lots of neat ways that you can network over the distance, and have accountability partners.
And I'll tell you also, Dr. Ard, one thing that in my life anyway has always been kind of a reward is, our kids get straight A's, we take them out to dinner. It's our anniversary, we go out to dinner. And so many of our rewards are tied to food, where it would be so much
Hmm.
easier, as far as if you're in the weight management program, to say tie a reward to something that's not food related. Maybe
Yeah.
it's, maybe you would not enjoy this, but girlfriends could go out and have a pedicure or something. I mean, that would be the reward, as
Hmm.
opposed to going out for wine or going out for lunch. So I love what you're saying about just shifting our mindset.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think the important thing is to be creative about what that reward can be. And as you said, we've been socialized to use food as a reward from early in life, and it's always legal. It's always a safe bet, right? No one, is going to turn it down. So you feel free to give it. You feel free to receive it. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying the nice meal and celebrating. The only thing that you're finding pleasure in is food, and you know then think about, okay, well, actually, can I start to separate some of that, and can I enjoy the company?
mhm,
Or if you're going to take me out to a fancy meal, actually, let's spend that money on something else that we can, enjoy even longer, and reflect on even longer, because we created an experience, right? And so, those are things that become priceless, and create a sense of reward, not just in the moment, but when you reflect on those memories that, bring back good feelings.
great. Well, Dr. Ard, thank you so much. It seems like you have answered everyone's questions. I, for one, I'm so grateful to hear from you. I just think you've gotten us off on such a wonderful start to 2021. No excuses from me or anyone else of why we can't start off this year in a very healthy way. I do want to give a reminder that everyone who participated tonight is automatically in our drawing for our Wake Forest Swag door prize. So if you won, you'll be hearing from me. That's why we always encourage people to register via that email, the Aging Well series at wakehealth.edu. That gets you into our system. We have a full report that we just draw someone from for to win the prize. And for next month, so February 9th, go ahead and mark your calendar. We are having the national director with AARP's fraud prevention and identity theft. He's going to be talking to us about keeping us safe that way. And we also are going to be treated to a cooking demonstration from the executive chef at Grayland. So Chef Rollins is going to be showing us how to create, I know this maybe goes against just what we talked about with Dr. Ard, but how to create maybe a healthy romantic dinner, because it will be right around the corner for Valentine's Day. So until we meet again, thank you for the emails. Thank you for running into me and for speaking with me when we're out and about. And I'll see you on February 9th, if not before. Thank you so much.